Next up, let's go ahead and add an uplink adapter to our dvUplink group. If you recall back here to our diagram, we do have a number of uplinks, one from each host here on our dvUplink port group for the prod DV switch. Specifically, we're using VMNIC2 across each of the 3 nodes. Over here on the storage DV switch, we're using VMNIC3. But what about adding potentially another dvUplink to the prod dvUplink group? In theory, if we're using VMNIC2 and 3, what about VMNIC1? Well, let's see if VMNIC1 is being used on our 3 hosts. If we start with node 1 and we look at our physical adapters, there's VMNIC1 right there, and it's currently not assigned to either standard or distributed switch. Let's do the same for node 2, and again, VMNIC1 is not being used, and the same for node 3. So we should be able to assign VMNIC1 to the prod DV switch uplink group to give the prod DV switch additional uplink capacity. So back here to our topology, what we're going to do is to add a second uplink to the prod DV switch. So how do we go about doing this? Well, actually, if you go to the DV switch and you click add and manage hosts, what you're going to do is to manage host networking. Because we've already added the hosts, now we just want to add additional networking capacity, specifically VMNICs from the hosts. So we'll go ahead and select all 3 hosts in this case, click next. And here again, you should recognize this from before when we added the hosts. We're going to add VMNIC1 as uplink 2 for this DV switch. And that's going to be VMNIC1 across each of the 3 hosts. So we'll click next, 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 and finish. And then take a look at that. The additional uplink port was added, one from each of the 3 hosts connected to this DV switch. And again, that can be used for redundancy in case one of the NICs goes down. It can also be used for load balancing, which we'll talk more about later. So that's how easy it is to add uplinks. Let's now move on and talk about DV switch port group settings.